Hi everyone, my name is Kylie Moulds from the University of Sydney in Australia. Thank you for attending my virtual presentation titled Sink or Swim, a Survival Analysis of Sport Dropout in Australian Youth Swimmers. Developmentally suitable participation in youth sport activities can assist young people with the facilitation of short and long-term physical, psychosocial and skill benefits. Yet, conflicting research suggests that a substantial proportion of youth will either temporarily or permanently drop out of sport within short time frames and at younger ages, so around 10 and 11 years. And this is younger than been previously reported. If dropout is considered an unhealthy behaviour and youth are dropping out of sport within early age groupings, the multiple health benefits of sport participation within critical youth development stages is potentially being admitted. Therefore, assessing and understanding the numerous and complex interconnecting factors, which was the aim of this study, that can impact youth sport behaviour is imperative for the creation of healthy sporting organisations and society in general. Bronfenbrenner's most recent bioecological systems theory, the process-person-context-time model, had a relevance as a background for the context of this study as it applies an interdisciplinary and integrative approach to children and adolescents with an explicit focus on applications to policies and programs pertinent to enhancing youth development. Following university ethics approval, a large dataset of swimmer registration information was prepared and examined in collaboration with Swimming New South Wales. The dataset contained identification numbers, birth date, sex, year of initial registration and demographic information, including residential postcode, club and region. All swimmers aged between 10 to 15 years inclusive were tracked using ID numbers for 3 subsequent years to determine participation and dropout trends. The study was conducted in 2 parts. In part 1, the purpose was to accurately examine long-term dropout trends using a survival analysis approach. The analysis also assessed the influence of individual and socio-demographic variables upon drop-off rates. In part 2, a competitive subsample of the initial study was examined, using similar analytical procedures to assess the influence of competition level on dropout alongside individual and socio-demographic variables. To identify dropout trends, Kaplan-Meier survival analyses supplemented with Cox regressions were used on the annual participation data. Procedures were then repeated when examining the influence of competition in a smaller subsample of swimmers. Kaplan-Meier analyses identified a median sustained participation rate of 4 years. The survival curve illustrated on the slide shows the group differences when considering age group associated with participation time. The more dropout events that occur, the lower the survival curve. Therefore, a survival curve that appears at the top, and in this case, the 15-year-old age group, the more beneficial the effect. Cox regressions identified age was associated with a higher hazard rate for 10-year-olds when comparing to 15-year-olds. Residential proximity to larger cities was also linked to dropout, with urban swimmers reporting a higher dropout than rural swimmers. Sex and relative age were not associated with sport cessation in this study. In the subsample, the median sustained participation was also 4 years. The level of competition was associated to sport dropout, with a higher hazard rate linked to lower competition levels, that is, when comparing club and district level to national level. Findings identified that 10 and 11-year-old age groups were at a substantially greater risk of dropout compared to older age groups, raising concerns as to why early-age boys and girls are dropping out and who, in health terms, might not have potentially benefited as much from swimming involvement. During examination of New South Wales swimming participation data, an important observation was noted that total annual participation numbers and distributions did not substantially change. Total numbers of swimmers per age group per year were reasonably consistent, and therefore the high frequencies of dropout were not immediately detectable. Early age new registrations effectively masked the presence of high dropout rates, potentially nullifying the suggestion of low retention rates. On this basis, a protective topping up effect was occurring when actual dropout might be reflecting possible concerns. Findings highlight implications for regional and national swimming organisations related to the systematic reporting and tracking of dropout data as an indication of system healthiness. To maximise the likely benefits from sustained youth sport participation, sporting organisations could consider using similar analytical techniques and multi-level frameworks to accurately assess and track dropout trends. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and I can be reached on the details which appear on the screen.